AltApp Mobile is a mobile app development studio. We focus on building awesome mobile apps for startups all around the world.
And you've got a quite big international network. Describe that network to me.
Yeah, absolutely. So we have our engineering team based out of India. We have our design team based out of Eastern Europe. We have business development guys in the US, Australia, UK as well. We're trying to build up in those areas. And we're really passionate about having a distributed team to enable us to find the best resources around the globe while keeping our costs down and making sure that it's cost effective for startups to be able to get their product out to market.
So the kinds of countries you've had clients in, give me some examples there.
Well, for example, right now we're working on apps mostly for startups based out of the US, for San Francisco, New York, but we also have clients in Australia, UK, and even Saudi Arabia at the moment. Yeah.
So give me some examples. Let's start with the South African example.
Yeah.
Scientific survey. What does Scientific Survey do?
Yeah, absolutely. So one of our our best South African clients is a startup called Scientific Survey. What they are is a easy to use iPad app, which we worked with them to build the user interface as well as all of the back end integration, which allows people to go out to the field. They go to sort of remote parts of Africa to take surveys and scientific social surveys. How many people are in a particular location, what sort of facilities they have. And then at the end of the day, when they get back to their Wi-Fi spot or 3G, they're able to then send those results back to the central server. And traditionally, the way this was all done on paper. They'd gather all the paper up, and then at the end, somebody would key all that data in. It would take like several weeks, sometimes even several months to do that.
Mistakes would happen.
Mistakes would happen, and delays and frustration. Whereas with this, at the end of the day, literally, the central office would actually have all that information, and the client would be able to sort of start getting those reports quicker than normal. So
that's a B2B example. The B2C example is Cuckoo in Australia. Describe Cuckoo.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, most of the apps that we do are consumer-facing apps. A lot of stuff with a social twist. Cuckoo is a good example. Cuckoo is essentially an Instagram for recipes. It allows people to post photos and then also add the recipes, the details of the recipe, the ingredients, etc. To that, and then basically post it. So it's essentially an Instagram, but with a focus on the recipe and the sort of the food market. The way they explain it is it's like focused on foodies, and that's their sort of their target market. They're starting to partner with well-known chefs, sort of with a focus on the UK as well. They've got like quite a few
internationally known UK chefs.
Yeah, exactly. So those guys are coming on board, and
they're based in Brisbane, aren't they?
Yeah, correct. They're based in Brisbane, Australia.
Yeah. And how many users have they got for the site?
So I think the last I heard they had about 20 or 30,000 users, and they're growing fast. I mean, that's just pre-launch, sort of in beta testing, just by word of mouth and without any marketing. So I think they're now looking to grow into their next phase. But I think the thing that I think is really interesting about Cuckoo is that they started with an idea. They spoke to a few people about it. People aren't really that interested when you've just got an idea as a startup. But now they've got an app, an iPhone app, an Android app, all of the APIs built, all of the back-end infrastructure. They've got 20, 30,000 users. People take them a lot more seriously now. They're presenting at different events in Australia. They've been over to an accelerator program in San Francisco, and they've now been able to build up a really serious board, including some chefs and some other, tech guys. And they're able to, just be taken a lot more seriously now, and because they've got a real product, out to market.
And you've got a third example, which is a jobs app. So describe that one.
Yeah, so we worked with Dapsity, which is a San Francisco-based startup. We worked with them all the way through the process, from the design, the engineering of the app, all of the back-end infrastructure, and a beautiful RESTful web API. That is essentially what they would call a Tinder for job search. So Tinder is basically the
people dating job opportunities.
Correct. Yeah. So instead of a dating app where you swipe through the cards, you've actually got cards where you can swipe through different jobs.
Swipe left or right.
Pulls in different feeds from job networks, and you can then say, if you like it, you sort of swipe one way. If you don't like it, you swipe the other way.
Yeah.
So you can basically filter through your jobs really fast. Works in the US, but it also works in other countries as well, wherever there's different job feeds coming in. So.
And you do the whole process, don't you? It's not just doing the app. You also put it in the store and all of that process.
Yeah, correct. I mean, a lot of times people don't realise what's involved in building an app, because you look at an app and a lot of the time they seem really simple. You look at something like Jelly or Vine, where there's a really simple user interface. You sort of think, well, what's really going on here? But there's a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes, and there's sometimes the simpler the app, the more work is going on behind the scenes. So we take care of, as I said, everything from the design phase, as well as all of the sort of back-end infrastructure, integrating with third-party systems, like we're pulling in job feeds or whatever sort of other systems, integration with social networks like Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and then everything that sort of has to happen to make in the engineering, to make it all work, and then we get it out to the App Store and support them and release them after that as well. So as long as the startup has an idea and they're willing to work with us through the process, and I mean obviously there's a lot that the client has to do as well, setting up different accounts, testing it, giving feedback, all that sort of stuff, but we support them through that whole journey.